Hey guys, and welcome to today's video. Today we have a sovereign citizen grandma in court who calls herself an American state national. But as you'll see by the end of this video, that those designations are simply the piece in the same missing chromosomal pod. So let's begin.
Talk with Ms. Lucia.
She is unrepresented, Your Honor.
Okay, you're not representing her.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, we called a case of 22-239. Margaret Bruno. Is it Lucia?
This is who you're calling right here, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Just so we're clear, I'm representing the, authorized representative for the legal fiction. And I cannot cross the bar if you, I can't cross the bar, you know that.
And why can't you pass the bars are like a IQ requirement that you can't meet. And one thing I find funny about this video is that she complains about her first hearing not being able to hear and that the judge didn't take into account her disability, but then proceeds to stand as far away from the judge as possible, making it harder for her to hear in the first place this sovereign citizen isn't the most functional hoe in the garden shed.
It's all about
I can hear you.
jurisdiction.
Can you hear me okay?
I can, yeah.
All right.
It's not as sophisticated as my hearing aids, but I can hear you this time.
All right.
All right, I just want to be clear that when I was here for the arraignment, first off, I never had a first appearance. Within 24 hours, I was incarcerated for 13 days without a first appearance. Bond was set.
And that's true because you wouldn't sign the documents at the jail. Until you sign documents at the jail, you don't
Where is that written that you have to sign anything? Because I couldn't find it. It just simply says within 24 hours I would go before a judge. I had
You
felony
weren't properly
charges.
booked, so that's the way that was, but I'm not going to argue with that point, but go
Okay,
ahead.
well, I just want to get it on the record that I am here on a special appearance, and I'm just the authorized representative for this birth certificate. It has been federally authenticated, if you want to take a look at it. It has been certified by the state and federally authenticated. I am the owner of this SQQV. Do you understand what that means?
Not a clue.
This judge is a trip. And while he does let her go through her script, he doesn't entertain this "I'm an American, but not an American citizen. Therefore, I don't have to follow your rules" bullcrap.
Really? Okay. It means that I'm not in your jurisdiction. I stand on the land and soil. I'm under the public law.
Okay.
And I have a right to pass through service.
All right, so I take it you're representing yourself today?
No, I am presenting myself.
Okay. So you're not going to enter a plea today or work out negotiations or anything?
I'm not making any plea whatsoever. I have not consented to contract with this court in any way.
Okay.
I'm an American state national. I'm not a sovereign citizen. That was a hate crime under which I was arrested, and the arresting officer has since quit his job with the Jasper Police Department.
All right, well, say we can...
I have a file here that I have one prepared for both the prosecutor and for you, Judge, if you'd like to take a look and go along with me on what I'd like to bring before the court. My goal is that this case get dismissed with prejudice before I walk out today.
Well, that's not going to happen. All right, well, here's what we're going to do today. I'll look this over for you.
This file is not completed. Let me explain. All the highlighted areas, I met with the clerk of court, Greg Godwin, and the areas that were in yellow here, I expected that he would be able to provide the information for me to complete these documents. I am not able to mail them until I can get them completed. He suggested that I talk with, is it John Durham, or who is it, Durant? Am I getting that correct, Tabitha?
That's Mr. Durrett, the state attorney.
Durrett, okay. He suggested I should talk with him as far as getting this information completed. He said he wasn't able to complete the information. Otherwise, I can hire somebody to get this information for me. So if this case is not going to be submitted, but the first letter in here is a fair notice and warning letter. And it speaks to what the issues are here. First off, it was a false arrest because I do have a right to travel. And then also there is no contract. The application for a driver's license does not tell anybody that you are trading a God-given right for a privilege.
Well, if it's a God-given right, then would you care to point out in the Bible the exact verse where God grants you the right to drive your Ford Pinto to bingo without a license?
There is no victim in this crime because I have a right to face an accuser, and there's nobody here that was harmed. Deprivation of due process, Your Honor, you denied me a first appearance. And I have not heard the charges because I am hard of hearing. I brought that to the attention of the court at the arraignment. And your comment was simply, I'm talking as loud as I can. Well, that doesn't do any good for somebody who has a disability. And you have a responsibility to me under the Americans Disability Act.
I don't want to hear any of this. I'm disabled. And I can't hear. __ when you're choosing to not stand at the podium, which is 10 feet closer to the judge.
And so I have issues with that. So up until, I still haven't really heard the charges. You know, when it started out, I was slammed with 7 felony charges. Had a violation of my Fourth Amendment rights because they did a search and seizure of my vehicle. They tossed my car completely. He claimed he found the phone in my car. He didn't. He took it out of my hand after shoving my arm. That was assault and battery. And then when I got into the police vehicle, my keys were in my pocket. He took them out of my pocket. All right, that again is assault and battery, and also could be considered rape.
Wait, what? How is the officer pulling the keys out of your pocket consider? Oh, you mean that pocket.
Prosecutor Travis Munden did not act for 8 days. He allowed me to sit in jail for 8 days with felony charges hanging over my head, of which you put a $38,000 bond on me without my participation. Again, that was a violation or deprivation of due process. The felony charges were bogus. I'm an international notarial witness for the United States of America, unincorporated. I had those, driver's license on my phone and birth certificates because I do remote notarization for people. I had a right to have that. I had it by permission of the people that sent it to me. The prosecutor, Dana Brady Giddens, she failed to act for 6 days. After, on July 1st, Travis transferred it from the felony side over to misdemeanors. She sat on it for 6 days. I sat in jail for 13 days, not even knowing what was going on. And it wasn't until after I got out of jail and I called her, and while I was on the phone, she goes, "Oh, here it is." She asked me what my name was, and she goes, "Oh, here it is," and she opened it while I was on the phone. So Travis sat on it for 7 days. Whatever happened to due process? Don't they have a responsibility to act timely? Because I know I do. I was kidnapped and taken to a prisoner of war camp. I had no choice in this, and I'm an American. I'm an American state citizen. I stand above this court. I stand above this for-profit corporation. First time that I saw you, sir, was 44 days after my arrest. And again, my Americans with Disability Act rights were violated in that you made no accommodation at all for my not being able to hear you. So as far as I know, I never did put in a plea. I have not pled in any way whatsoever. I have not consented. I have signed absolutely nothing. I signed no citations. I have had communication with Tabitha and Dana. We have been writing back and forth on our 72 rule of response, and I can't get answers out of them. They keep telling, I ask for documentation, and all I get is no documents responsive, no documents responsive, over and over again. I ask her for her oath of office on Florida letterhead, nothing. I get a scrap of paper. I ask her for a signed contract on my side, I get a citation that's not signed. The citation wasn't even signed by the arresting officer, it's by somebody else, and it has comments in it that says I said something, and I would appreciate eye contact, sir.
The judge is under no obligation to watch you eat your paint chips, especially when he can hear you crunching on just fine.
I don't appreciate being ignored by the court. So anyway, I didn't sign anything. I have not contracted with this court. I haven't contracted at all. And why? Because I don't need to. I'm not under these statutes, rules, regulations, codes, ordinances, mandates, and all the rest. I tried to explain that to the public defender here that you assigned to talk to me. And then basically everything out of his mouth came out right out of this hate crime document called Law Enforcement Guide to Sovereign Citizens. I'm not a Moor. I'm not a Waukesha Nation. I'm an American state citizen. Okay. To call somebody a sovereign citizen is slander. To put it in writing is libel. Sovereign is a king, somebody who is governing, self-governing. Citizen is somebody who works for another. It's an oxymoron.
That's where you're getting it wrong, police officers, judges, politicians. And even the average American citizen are becoming more and more aware of you fucktardians, whether you call yourselves more sovereign citizens or, in this case, an American state national.
I'm a private living woman. My responsibility is to balance the accounts of the public, the public all caps name, and to keep the public charitable trust in balance. Roosevelt put us on an all debit system, and these credits have been stolen from the people. And all I'm trying to do is my responsibility here. So I'm planning to subrogate this. If you look at the second document, or maybe you already have, and you've seen the list of people I will send it to. Governor DeSantis has been involved in my case. I have a letter here that was sent to him. If you would like to see that, let's see, maybe it's in one of the other files. Anyway, he has been involved in this as well, because he is also part of the problem here, in that he is not assisting the Americans within this state to be safe from the harm that is being caused by this system, by the law enforcement officers and deputies who are not educated as to who we are.
I'm sorry, Karen, but not only are you clueless as to what your rights really are, you're not that special at all. And this really goes back to the self-identity of the American state nationals. Regardless that their arguments mirror that of sovereign citizens, they refuse to believe that they could possibly be that deplorable being that continues to lose in life. But the truth of the matter is, if I pulled the clip out where she said, "I'm an American, state national," then everyone watching this video would have come to the conclusion that she was a sovereign citizen.
I had sat down, I had noticed both the police chief and the sheriff on 2 different occasions. They have my fee schedule as to what I'll be charging when this is all over, and I have to come back and have my rights restored and my property restored. My car was towed from in front of the police station. That's where I was when all this happened. I was in talking to Chief Rickerson. I went in and I noticed both the chief and the sheriff, the clerk of court, and the property appraiser when I got here back in March, that I was an American state citizen and I'm not a U.S. citizen. They were both noticed. They've both been noticed twice. And along with that was the fee schedule of what I charge when my rights are violated. I was talking with the police chief for the 4th time. We have sat down and had 4 conversations on how we educate the officers to know the difference so people are not harmed on the side of the road. I wasn't even on the side of the road. I was parked in front of the police station when all this went down. I wasn't even in my car. This officer got in my face back in April, and he stood there. I was meeting with the police chief, Chief Rickerson. At that time, he was an interim police chief. And this officer barged into our discussion and got in my face and started spitting on me with his saliva. He was like this close to me, yelling at me, telling me, "I'm a police officer for 25 years, and I've dealt with plenty of people like you." And he went on and on and on, okay? No, he hasn't dealt with anybody like me because I know my rights.
And for $49.99, you too can be taught the life hacks that will keep you from ever going to jail again or ever having paid taxes. Did it go something like that? Because of the scam, they're all scammers. They take your money and promise to teach you this scheme that will get you out of debt and allow you to get cars and houses for free. And if you weren't so self-deluded and determined to be right, you would see just how stupid that sounds when said out loud.
And I studied this. Why? Because you could not get through the 2020 election and not know that there's something seriously wrong with this country. And I have seen this coming for many, many years. I studied it with my husband. My husband passed back in 2010.
Look, I'm not a very religious person, but I used to be, and there's one piece of scripture that I want to quote to all of you asshats. Romans 13:1-3 reads, "Let every soul be subject to governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and the authorities that exist are appointed by God. Therefore, whoever resists the ordinance of God, and those who resist will bring judgment on themselves, for rulers are not a terror to good works, but to evil. Do you want to be unafraid of the authority? Do what is good, and you will have praise from the same. To summarize, quit being __. Hypocrite, do what your God says and get __ license if you're going to drive a car."
In July of 2016, I read an article that the Pope had relinquished our Social Security accounts to the U.S. Treasury, and I knew something had changed, something was up, and I went looking. And when I went looking, I found at least 20 organizations trying to help people come out of slavery, come out of this U.S. citizen slavery.
We know you finish. Everything you start is evident by the empty paint cans at the breakfast table this morning.
You're a slave to the British Crown, which is the administrative arm, to the Pope, which is the financial arm, and to Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia, which is the military arm of the one world government. Well, I don't go with that because I serve a king. I serve the Almighty King. That is who I am. I am a child of the King. I'm not a U.S. citizen. I'm a child of the King, and I have rights that were given to me, sovereign rights given to me by my Creator. And I live by the Bible. I don't live by any kind of religion, sir. I read the Bible cover to cover, and I do what it says.
Yeah, I do. Well, maybe not the 73-year-old female toddler part, but I've been in gym class, I played organized sports, and I've been in the military. So yeah, I know what it's like to drop down to your birthday suit in front of people you don't know, and my sound advice to you is, if you can't take the consequences of breaking the law, then stay your decrepit ass at home and pick up something other than being underscore, because this ain't working for you.
And when it says that there are 2 commandments in the New Testament that Jesus, or Yeshua, I prefer to call him by his Hebrew name, the 2 commandments, to love God above all things and to love your neighbor as yourself, I live by that. But that's a summary of the 10 commandments that are in the Old Testament, Exodus 20. And the first 5 commandments are how you love your Creator. And the second 5 commandments is how you love your neighbor. And I live by that, sir. And this officer had to break several of those commandments to put me into this system. He had to lie, and he had to steal my property. And if this is the system that this government or this for-profit corporation is trying to force on the people, then you guys should all be ashamed of yourself. I am asking, I'm not asking, I am demanding. See, a sovereign does not motion the court. A sovereign demands. I am demanding that this case be dismissed with prejudice because I'm going down for the count. I'll take whatever punishment you give me. And I think my 13 days in jail without signing anything, just for comfort, should give you an idea of the fact that I finish when I start.
Kind of sounds like you're suffering at the hands of your own demise, Karen. And I, for one, don't feel sorry for you at all.
I went into that jail, Your Honor. I was quite a surprise. I wasn't prepared for it. If it hadn't been that I took a couple in who were homeless, I probably would have ended up going home to a dead dog in a house full of crap. But that gentleman, the people that I took in who were homeless, called my girlfriend and said she didn't come home last night. Well, my girlfriend knew that I was on my way to the post office in Live Oak, and she knew I was going to stop by and talk to the sheriff. So first call she made was to the Suwannee County Jail. Second call was to the Hamilton County Jail, and she found me. I was sitting in jail. I've never been in trouble with the law before. Do you know what it's like for a 73-year-old woman to have to stand there and take her underwear off and stand in front of somebody else?
Everything you just said sounds like some first world grandma problems that could easily be avoided by you not breaking the law.
That was so humiliating. You want to talk about rights? Let's just talk about basic humanity here. Okay. And I was given an orange jumpsuit. I don't look good in orange at all. I have to bring some humor so I can stop crying. I wore that jumpsuit in my underwear for 13 straight days. Because I wouldn't sign your paperwork, because I would not come in contract with this corporation, this for-profit corporation. You're not a government, let's be honest. Because I wouldn't come in contract with you, I suffered extremely.
Yeah, I don't think a trogly Karen who's at 73 years to figure out, but still doesn't get it is the best person to be giving advice to the incarcerated youth of America.
I was 3 days in a row, I asked for a sweatshirt. I was freezing. You got a swamp cooler in that jail. It's loud and it's cold. And every guard was wearing a jacket and every inmate had a sweatshirt except for me. 3 days I asked for a sweatshirt. On the 4th day when I asked, the guard said, "You don't sign out paperwork, you don't get nothing." Yeah, that's real sweet. There's a camera right above the toilet. Yeah, that's real sweet. You're sleeping on a steel bed. When I went and signed their paperwork, they gave me a mattress where the fabric was touching fabric. I have a 9-inch spread, thumb to little finger, and I can tell you that the padding of that mattress lay within a lump 12 inches by 30 inches. The very first day in holding, I had a bruise on my tailbone from sitting on a steel bed. You know, I'm used to a mattress and I have a memory foam topper on top of it. I like it sweet.
Oh, you don't have to wait 3 days. He denied your motion to dismiss at the beginning of this video. So carry on, Karen.
I went without drinking water for 13 days. I drink on average almost a gallon a day. My dog and I consume a gallon a day. You get coffee in the morning, you get Kool-Aid for lunch and dinner, and you get absolutely no water. And the only water coming out of the faucet in the bathroom is hot water. Okay, this is inhumane. I was tortured for my faith. Why would I say that? Because according to Revelation 18:4, it says, "Come out of her, my people." I am one of his people. And that Revelation 18 is all about Babylon. And yes, I did the paperwork to come out of this Babylonian system. Matthew 6:24 says, "I can't serve two masters." Well, who gets the taxes? Who gets the first tithe? The government grabs it right out of your paycheck. You don't have a choice. Steals it right from God. We don't get to give God our first fruits. I don't know what your faith is, but that's my faith. I serve the mighty Creator. It was very boring in there.
I love how she started by saying that she understands her obligations, and now she's figured it all out, and then follows that up by eating a crayon taco in court. There's no IRS account that you can magically use to pay off all your debts. You can't subrogate your responsibilities for breaking the law, and trying to pull your sovereign citizen scam on the court is not in your best interest.
And they had some books, and I was reading on average 400-page novels every single day. But on the 5th day, the guards came in and took all the books out, so I had nothing I could read. And then the girls gave me some paper. I had 3 sheets of paper. I started writing and writing and writing, front and back, as small as I could. And when I ran out of those 3 sheets of paper, the girls in the cell on the other side started giving me paper. Why? Because I befriended them. We talked about our Savior. We talked about why we were there. I wasn't preaching. I don't preach. But I shared with them that, you know, they got themselves in trouble. And the first thing they need to do is straighten out their lives and get right with their Creator. Because if they can do that, the rest will fall in place.
We're not being persecuted, you're being prosecuted. And I'd like to point out one little thing that she said in that diatribe. She said she filed for an act of expatriation, which means she filed to voluntarily give up her rights to United States citizenship. Remember a few videos back when I pointed out that this exact same thing may have happened to that American state national who's now getting deported? You keep playing your stupid games, Karen, and you're going to win your stupid prize in Cuba, where you belong.
And that's what I spent those 13 days doing, trying to be a big sis or a mom to those other girls who have lost their way along the way. 5 of the girls in that prison or jail recommitted their lives to God while I was there. And I'm very happy for them, and I continue to pray for them. I want you to know, sir, that I pray for you also. I pray for every one of you, because I pray that the Father will take the veil off your eyes so you can see what's really going on here. I don't know what you know. I have no idea what you know, but I know exactly how it works, and I know about the security bond, and I know how you have hit my SQQB trust, and that's what this subrogation is of that bond. Because I'll be filling out all the IRS forms. If this case is not dismissed with prejudice today, or I'll give you 3 days, as it says in the document.
Somebody really needs to get their grandma. She's in the courtroom failing at basic math again. All right, guys, that's what we're going to end the video. She ended up getting a continuance, all while at the same time stupidly saying this, what about November 15th? Well, I mean, now I don't plan to attend any more trials here. This is my last one. Looks like you have another 13 days of crusty underpants in your future. Karen, you're an idiot. So that's the end of the video. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you disliked it, leave a dislike. But don't forget to leave a comment below and subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss any of my content.